Hello everybody, it's Dave Walker. I'm back for another session of Whiteboard Wednesday. And look at me, don't I look clean and fresh? And the whiteboard is nice and clear, plenty of lighting, nice fresh sound. I'm here with Jim Ross from Cinematics HD. He was a good friend of mine, a client, and he said, Dave, that first video, we can do better. So just like I recommend to most of my business owners, I decided to outsource this video, have Jim come in and help me and show it the right way to be done. So hopefully from here on out, you'll see a much quality video and we'll enjoy the sessions a lot more. Anyway, let's get to why we're here. Whiteboard Wednesday is a session that I put on to kind of give people who are trying to transition and becoming business owners a chance to get some basic information about starting a business. In America, 3 to 8% of Americans earn their living off of their business, but the studies show that up to 57% of Americans always think about starting their business. And so Whiteboard Wednesdays was designed to be a time in which I would contribute back to those people who are on the ledge of becoming business owners and say, hey, you can do it, and here's some of the fundamentals that we're going to go through. So I'm Atlanta's business attorney, Dave Walker. I work exclusively with startup and small business owners here in Atlanta, and I help them to grow their company, buy and sell other businesses, raise capital, etc. So part of our Whiteboard Wednesday presentation has really been to walk people through this process for starting a business and getting into what it takes. The last session, if you were able to sit through the grainy and toilet bowl footage that Jim likes to point out, the last session really talked about 3 things. 1 was the mentality to become a business owner. 2 was the strategy. And 3 was the goals. In our last session, I also used an example of my daughter, Skylar. And in that example, Skylar had a cookie business, and she was selling cookies, and she had approached me as her attorney to say, how do I turn this cookie business into a real business? And we mentioned that the sale of cookies on a particular day is not a business, it's a business transaction. And to do that transaction over and over again is really what creates a business. And so Skylar's Cookies became a business first when she decided to take on the mentality of a business owner. Part of that mentality we talked about was that business owners like to spend 12 to 16 hours per day focusing in on their business, because that's what they do. They don't have a check. They don't get a boss to give them a check and do performance reviews. They have to generate revenue through the selling of their product or services. And that usually takes about 12 to 16 hours per day. They're going to sleep for another 6 to 8, and they're going to do other things for another 3 to 4, church or activities or working out, etc. So we have to take our 12 to 16 hours and channel that energy. And we usually channel it in 1 of 3 ways. The first way is revenue. Revenue fuels all business. Money makes the business go round. I talked about before how a business is like a baby. Well, revenue is what feeds the baby. So our business owner wants to spend 12 to 16 hours a day figuring out ways to bring money into their business. In our case of Skylar's Cookies, she's looking for ways to maybe branch out her cookies to bigger audiences, to bigger bake sales, etc. And that's where she wants to spend her days on. In order to do that, she has to choose to outsource. Outsourcing helps you allocate more time to revenue. The more you outsource things that you don't specialize in, the more time you have to generate revenue. So in Skylar's case, she wants to outsource her baking to her sisters. She wants to outsource her grocery shopping to her mother so she can get out and meet other customers. So outsourcing is a way to use your 12 to 16 hours more efficiently to generate revenue. The third part is the relationships. In business, relationships lead to revenue. So in Skylar's case, she wants to go out and network and meet other business owners and get to know who they are and tell her about their brand, her cookies, so that she can be able to come in and bring more revenue. She doesn't want to be bogged down with the day-to-day making of the cookies, because if she's making cookies, she's not building relationships, she's not generating revenue. And so these are the 3 things that we focus in on to maximize our 12 to 16 hours to be an effective business owner. Again, I talk about this a little bit more in detail in the first round. But today we're going to focus in on general strategies and goals and how do we implement them as business owners. Well, in order for Skylar to turn that business transaction into a business, she has to take the money that she's generated from that cookie sales and she has to put it into a business bank account. So let's start with that example today. You have Skylar, and remember, I'm not an artist. I've disclaimed that in the other episode. and she's selling cookies. These are cookies. With the new HD technology, you should be able to see that. And then she sells them for $1 to her friends and family, and she generates $10 of revenue. So now she says, Daddy, I want to turn this into a business, and the first thing we have to do is have a business bank account, because she has the $10 cash, but she doesn't have anywhere to put the cash. So we have to establish a business bank account. So our first goal today is to open up a business bank account. Now you say, Dave, what does this have to do with being an LLC? I thought this session was about, so I think I need an LLC, but I don't know why or how. Well, the reason that matters is because typically the first time people run into the LLC issue is when they look to open up a business bank account. So they say, oh, I have this money, I have to open up a business bank account, and they go to a bank, and the bank then says to them, I need your business documents. Now, the kind of documents they need will vary, but oftentimes it comes down to a corporate entity filed at the state and then a tax ID number. So in order to open up a bank account, your strategy has to be the one, to form a business entity, and two, get a federal employer tax ID number. Now, how do I know that? Because Skylar wouldn't know that. Well, that's why you might outsource. But I'm sure if you go on the internet and you look at how to open up a business bank account, you're going to come down to these two issues. But in case if you outsource, your attorney or whoever you hire to manage this and form your company would be able to get these for you. So the bank says, I need to see your business formation documents and I need to see your tax ID number. And so you're left then to decide, like, well, what kind of business entities? And the choices are across the board. I'm going to talk about 3 today because they're the main 3 ones that we're faced with. So in forming a business, you either can be a sole proprietor, an LLC, or a corporation. Okay, so the choice of entity is going to usually come down to one of these 3. If Skylar does nothing but to file a business license in her local city or county, then she is what's called a sole proprietor. So if we treat this column as the places where we file, a business license is usually filed at your city or your county. So if Skylar takes, I don't know, usually $25, $50 to her local municipality and pays for a business license, she will be a sole proprietor. And a lot of times the banks will use a business license to open up a bank account. But this is the basic level of being in business. The next thing, the next highest level is the LLC, and that's what's called your articles of organization. And those are filed at the level of the state. And also the other choice is your articles of incorporation for a corporation, and that's also filed at the state. Now, one of the hardest decisions that people come across, if you are able to understand these 3 categories, is which one do I pick? Well, first let's talk about the differences between these 2 and this one. This one, you don't get any protection of your business. Now, what does that mean? Skylar's cookie business that she runs out in front of the house. Okay, this is Skylar, and this is in front of our house. All of her things inside of the business, all of her assets, including her house, are part of the business when you do a business license, which means that if there's something wrong with the cookie, maybe her sister left a toy doll shoe in one of the cookies and someone bit on it and broke a tooth or swallowed it and choked, they could come after Skylar and her house and her doll house and everything else. However, in a situation in which you form it at the state level, only Skylar and the business is part of it. So in this case, she doesn't have to worry about somebody coming after her house if she sells a bad cookies, and these are cookies. Only her business is protected, and only the people can come after the things in your business. So the state says if you file with us, we're going to allow you to protect your house, and you'll only be responsible for the cookies you sell, which means that in Skylar's case, only the $10 she sold. In this case, however, it's not just the $10 that she showed, it's also the value of her house. So now we're left to decide that, okay, Dave, I don't want to lose my house because of cookies. And so I'm going to go ahead and file at the state level. Which one should I choose between the LLC and a corporation? Well, that question comes down to how much maintenance do you want to provide? A corporation has a lot of maintenance in order to keep that shell of protection around your business. You have to have annual minutes, director minutes, bylaws, stock certificates, even if it's only one person. On the other hand, an LLC is once you file, all you need is an operating agreement. So LLC has less maintenance than a corporation. So I usually prefer, and most of the times why you see the LLC leading in filings over the corporation in any given state for any given year now, is that the ease in which it is to maintain without worrying about that protection. And how would you lose that protection? Suppose you were sued, someone would ask you for your corporate minute book. And if in your minute book you didn't have all of those minutes and documents, then they would be able to say, well, you didn't do what it takes to maintain your corporation, therefore we're going to treat you like a sole proprietor and come after your house. In an LLC, you show them the articles, an operating agreement, you're protected. So let's just suppose for this instance you understand, okay, Dave, I think I understand. I want to be an LLC. So now you've chosen your entity, which is the LLC. You formed it at the state level. The next question is your tax ID number. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this issue, but in fact, I could probably have another session just discussing the federal tax ID. But the IRS gives you choices of categories to select when you have to form your tax ID number, okay? And so they can say, well, one tax category, we're going to tax you heavily, or double taxation. In another tax category, we're going to do what's called a pass-through tax, which is basically you don't pay, the company doesn't pay any taxes directly, only Skylar pays the taxes on her individual income tax return. And then they have another one when they have a partnership, in which you might have another partner in your business, they give you a partnership taxation. So the types of taxation. Now, if the government had labeled this tax categories 1, 2, and 3, you can say, okay, I'm an LLC, tax category 1, 2, 3, or 4. Instead, they label these categories things like C-Corp, sole proprietor, partnership. And so there's confusion because there's another category called the S-Corp tax category, in which you can get some special tax treatment for small business. Most people, when they do their research, understand that they want to be an S-Corp. But S-Corp is just the tax category. You can be an LLC, taxes an S-Corp. But if you did the research and you just stumbled across forming companies and someone told you, oh yeah, you want to be an S-Corp, you might be inclined to form a corporation. So long story short, the LLC taxes the S-Corp is the preferred method for Skylar as she gets started. She can form the LLC at the state level, have that protection, file for her federal ID, tax ID number, and get the S-Corp tax treatment, and then she's on her way to business. So that's going to conclude Whiteboard Wednesday for today. I really just wanted to touch on some high-level examples on why you want to form an LLC and some of the benefits of doing it. There are also other benefits, like once you file your LLC, you are on public record. And so people can see that your company is officially in business. 2 is the professionalism. Once you file an LLC, you have that LLC moniker after your name. And when you do business with people, they see that you are officially in business and that your name means something. And lastly, it's to create that bank account and to be able to create a brand and image behind your name. Now, once you file for an LLC, that does not give you trade name rights, which we can talk about later. It just puts your business in play. But you can, if you pick the right name, the right corporate name to form your LLC, you can actually build off of it and create a brand and a trademark on that as well. So there's a lot of other topics we can talk about. I'll look for your comments below the Facebook section, and we can go through some of those comments and I'll respond to them. It's been fun. Jim, you've been a great studio audience, and this has been a great session. I look forward to our next Whiteboard Wednesday. This is Dave Walker signing off.